welcome to this first installment of a brand new series, Real Clear Daf Be'ian. For this series, we're going to be studying the topic of Onaa, a topic that we've been studying recently in Daf Yomi, beginning with the Mishnah, Amem Tes Amem Beis. Onaa means price fraud. And the Pasuk says as follows, if you refer to the source sheet, the Torah says, V'chisimkru mimkar la'amisecha okano miyad amisecha. If you're selling something, you're buying something, says the Torah, Al tonu ish es achiv. A man shall not be tonu his brother. I guess we can translate tonu as wrong or cheat his brother. And that's sale. So if it's from the seller's point of view, Torah says you can't overcharge. You can't charge beyond the fair market value. That's the basic prohibition of Onaa. Now we learned that there are three different levels of Onaa, meaning depending on the amount of the price fraud, there's a different halach in terms of what actually happens. As Rava said on Nunam Beis, Amar Rava, Rava said, Hilchasa, the halacha is, if that price fraud was pachos mishsus, it was less than a sixth of the purchase, then nikne mekach, then the sale stands, and the defrauded party, the misana, can't do anything. As the Gemara said on Amud Aleph, because in that case we assume it's mechila. Can't bring a lawsuit for that small amount. Then Rava said, Yoser al sus, if the Onaa was more than a sixth off the fair market value, then bittul mekach. The sale is null and void. Whereas there, the misana, the defrauded party, can demand a full refund. He can get all of his money back. And if the fraud was sus, was exactly 1/6 off of the fair market value, then, says Rava, the halacha is, kana, the sale stands. But umachzir Onaa, the defrauded party, the misana has a right to get a refund for the amount that he was overcharged. Let's say if the buyer was defrauded, and Rava adds, as we learned about v'zeh b'zeh b'kitei sheyir l'tager l'krova. In either case, whether it's more than a sixth or at a sixth, he only has the amount of time that it would take to show somebody the purchase, the merchandise, and ask his opinion. If he waited that amount of time and still didn't make any claim, then he mochel any right to make a claim. So said Rav in the Gemara. So we have these three levels again. That what can a defrauded party do about a case of Onaa if he finds out, he realizes he was, let's say, overcharged? If it's the buyer, well, it depends how much. Less than a sixth, can't do anything. More than a sixth, he can get all his money back, and exactly ish sus, he can get back the discrepancy amount, the amount of the Onaa. Now, a very basic question you can ask on all of this is, where do these levels come from? Is there a hint, a drasha, gematria, anything that points in the pasuk to such a concept that there's a difference between more than a sixth, less than a sixth? Where does it come from? So the Rishonim say, I gave you on the sheet the Ramban, but he's joined by many other Rishonim, like the Raivid, the Ritva. They all seem to say that the Torah doesn't provide anywhere any concept of different levels. Rather, the Torah left it up to the Chachamim to make a determination based on Das B'nei Adam. Meaning, we take the average person, what's that person's expectation when it comes to the issue of price fraud? And Chazal determined that if the fraud is more than a sixth, then a person is makbid, and understanding is that I can get my money back. Whereas if the fraud was insignificant, which the Rabbanan determined to be less than a sixth, then that's not something where the expectation is that that sale is null and void, that wasn't fair, that you cheated me. No, it's a small amount, and therefore there's no assumption that he can claim anything afterwards in that case. We'll talk more about less than a sixth later. But basically the Ramban and other Rishonim again are saying that these levels are not some scriptural decree from the pasuk. They're based on the Chazal's assessment of people's assumption. And based on the prevailing attitude, we figure out these levels. We have more than a sixth, we have less than a sixth, and that's how we practically apply the halacha of Onaa. So I have the following question. I understand that we say more than a sixth, that's the figure that the Chazal determined. At that amount, people expect that you cheated me. It wasn't a good sale. So I demand a refund. And therefore that's the halacha. And if it's less than a sixth, then that's something that, let's call it, you can overlook that. That's within, normal kind of, figuring out the value. That's something that people can tolerate, if you will, and therefore no claim. But what is this business of a middle level at exactly a sixth? Where does that come from? For some reason, we say that people assume that if the fraud was exactly a sixth, that should have a different status. For recall, according to the practical halacha, Rava is saying that there's a difference between fraud of more than a sixth versus fraud at exactly a sixth. If the fraud is more than a sixth, it's bittul mekach, meaning the defrauded person can demand the full refund. Give me all my money back. You cheated me. But for some reason, if the fraud is exactly a sixth, then he can't cancel the whole sale. The sale stands. Just he can get that amount of fraud, the Onaa amount, he can demand that back. Where does that come from? Whereas if this whole thing is based on basically logic, our assessment of what people think, people's expectations, then where does this idea of a middle level, that there should be a difference in halacha between a sixth and more than a sixth? It doesn't make sense. Either people are makbid about it, and therefore they say, you cheated me, I want my money back, or they're not, and therefore they can't get anything back. How does it make sense that if it's this very specific amount of a sixth, then there should be this middle status? That it seems difficult to understand why this middle level should be part of the system. So I'll end this video, I'll leave it with this question. If you have any thoughts on it, let me know. We're going to work on this, we're going to talk about this question, and we're going to explore other very interesting issues of Onaa. I hope you enjoy, and comments are welcome, and thank you so much for watching. All the best. We'll see you next time.